Hey guys, so today I'm talking about the Alx James and Gabbie Hanna situation. Now, I did record this video originally right after the Gabbie Hanna's first video came out where I talked about Alx James's lies. And so in part of this video, I will still be blonde because I'm going to include those clips because I think what I said was pretty on point still. But I didn't get around to editing it because I had other content that I wanted to go up and then I wasn't sure if it was still relevant, but now Alx James posted a response video, so I'm going to be kind of popping in as multicolored hair Kayla in between and kind of pointing out things that Alx has responded to and things that Alx hasn't responded to in response to my video about Gabbie's perspective on him, and then I'll pop in at the end to kind of do a little overview about what I think, because I think my original points still stand, but I kind of also wanted to include his response video in this because he did post it and I do think it's important. So before we get into the video, subscribe to my channel. I upload every Tuesday and Thursday, and you should hit that little button right there. And let's get into it. To preface this, I don't know anything about Alx James. I've never followed him. I didn't know anything about him until this. All I know about him is what I've heard from Jesse and Gabbie and a little bit of research I've done. So according to Gabbie, Alx James was a bully to her. He would make mean comments about her nose and liposuction, and like obviously that's disgusting. She also said that he faked a car accident to cover up his nose job and lipo, which like, okay. Like I guess it's fucked up to fake a car accident, but like also like do I care? So I will say in Alex's video, he basically does admit to faking the car accident for a nose job. He says that he didn't want to give like a false ideal to his subscribers, like, oh, if Alx gets a nose job and my nose looked like that and I got a nose job, I should get a nose job, etc. Which like I can understand, but I also do think that like faking a car accident is like a little much. And Alx does this thing where he really likes to gloss over serious things that he has discussed. So I just wanted to make note of that. This probably would have been great drama like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, but like the drama has escalated so much from like petty bullshit to like actual crimes that like this is really like not it for me. I mean, a lot of people are insecure about plastic surgery, so like I could understand that, yeah, faking a car accident is kind of fucked up. The main issue we're talking about that is because Alx Jones, it's not his name, Alx James was friends with Curtis Lepore, and so Gabbie seems to think that because Alx was friends with Curtis and he was forgiven by Jesse, that means that Gabbie should be forgiven by Jesse. Okay, so let's talk about his lies. So in his video where he talks about what happened with him as Curtis, he says that he met Curtis because he came to North Carolina, which is where he's from, on some tour. Now, I will say, the tour was a tour Alx was also on and Jesse Smiles was also on. So it is kind of weird that he said that like it was on some tour when Alx was on the tour. Like I said in my last video, I can understand like misconstruing some details and misremembering some minor details, but like I'm assuming being on a tour as a Viner was probably a pretty big fucking deal for you. So like it's kind of weird. And it does feel like he's underplaying it there. He also said that he wasn't friends with Jesse or Curtis before the situation. But Jesse said that they were friends before the situation, and again, Jesse Smiles was also on this tour, so that's a lie. And he also deflects by being like, oh yeah, I heard about the R-word allegations, but like they were just people on the internet to me, so like it's not a big deal, which like kind of sus because like I don't care if they're just people on the internet. Like I still wouldn't want to associate with an R-word if like he was just a person on the internet, like just my vibes maybe. Like, I think overall in his video, he really does try to downplay. Like, I think he's probably ashamed of what he did, so he was trying to, like, downplay it and, like, act like it was no big deal when I think that's the wrong route to go. He really should have taken more accountability. Now, luckily for him, Gabbie Hanna is the big bad, and so he was able to kind of skate by on that. And I mean, Jesse has forgiven him, so it's hard for anyone to hold him accountable, but I do think that he could have taken more accountability in the victim-blaming culture he took part in. And the fact that he chose to be friends with this man, because it goes on to say that Curtis, that basically Alx was friends with Curtis and Jesse before this came out. There are tweets and stuff to prove it in the video. I'll link that video down below because it's only 5 minutes long. It's a nice quick baby. You can zip through it on like 1.5 speed. So they hung out, him and Jesse hung out in August of 2013. He flew out to Miami with her, like to hang out with her and film Vines together. And in Jessie's video, she says that Alx was friends with them both before everything happened. In this video, Alx does not address the timeline that I'm about to discuss at all in regards to Curtis Lepore and his friendship. He just makes a flippant comment that says like, oh, I got my timeline wrong. But Gabbie Hanna has also gotten her timeline wrong. So like, why can't I get my timeline wrong too? And it's like, I mean, just because Gabbie, like comparing yourself to something Gabbie Hanna did is not the flex you think it is. And it's kind of just like, just because Gabbie Hanna fucked up doesn't mean that it's okay that you fucked up. Like, I think that you still need to, like, your response video was about you coming clean, and for it to be full of wrong dates that you can now see are incorrect, you should have cleared it up in this video. But I think the reason he didn't was because he has no excuse for it. Like, there is no excuse for being friends with Curtis while you were still friends with Jessie. There's no excuse for living with him after the fact. It sounds much better to say you moved out the second you heard it, but that's not factual. And like I said in my blonde haired video, he doesn't take enough accountability in his original video, and he doesn't really take any in this video either. So the TMZ article comes out in January of 2014, and Alx does say in his video that it came out in May of 2014. And this is a little bit convenient because 4 days after the TMZ article came out, Curtis and Alx moved in together, which like is completely fucked up and disgusting, especially considering during this time he was still friends with Jessie, which like, honestly, when I look at this timeline, I know that Gabbie Hanna needs to shit on Jessie, but like, all I can do is feel so fucking bad for Jessie. I can't imagine what it would be like to go through that, to have the bravery to come forward and tell everyone what happened to you, and then have so many people on Vine refuse to take your side, and even people who are your friends, like Alx, are still being friends with the person who assaulted you. Like, it must have been so disheartening for her. And I understand why she like couldn't do anything about it at the time, because like, what the fuck was she supposed to do? Just have zero friends? Cut everybody off? Like, she probably was just like trying to like get through it, and like, it's so awful. So they move in together. Based on tweets and images of them and vines of them, they basically stay friends until April, which again is months after the TMZ article came out. He also says that Curtis confided in him about what happened. Again, he asked Curtis for his side of the story, which like, I know Gabbie talks about like, well, does it matter that I asked Curtis? But like, Alx had not stopped being friends with Curtis at this time. While being friends with Curtis at the time is disgusting, I do think it is totally different. Like, Gabbie was never friends with Curtis. She was only friends with Jessie. So then she stopped being friends with Jessie and then heard out the R word, which is disgusting. Whereas it seems like in this situation, Alx is friends with both of them, but seems to be closer with Curtis and has never stopped being friends with Curtis. So it's a completely different situation. Still disgusting, but very different. And he also like waits a month to tell Jessie that he basically admitted to R-wording her, which is like also kind of fucked up, but like expected, because like, men. I can kind of understand why Jessie would forget all of this stuff, like once Curtis and Alx fell out, and then Alx told Jessie about what he said, and then Alx was like, I'm so sorry, I fucked up, blah, blah, blah. That I can totally understand, because again, like, even like I said about the original Gabbie Hanna situation, like, I think that what she originally did in defending Curtis is not unforgivable. There was a lot of victim blaming going on back then, and people, like, society was different, like, and I know that people like to use that as an excuse, and like, people keep saying like, oh, it wasn't that different, it wasn't that long ago, but like, honestly, it was. And as long as you understand and accept why what you did was wrong, and you apologize to that person and they accept your apology, like, I think it's fine. I think you just need to like never do that again, because like, we have to be open to people changing and growing. But what I do think is absolutely fucking disgusting is that in 2016, so 2 years after that, he collabed with Curtis after he was a convicted R-word, after he was sentenced, like, after you had been friends with Jessie for all of this time, he collabed with him. And what I also think is the most disgusting about this is that in his video, he again takes no accountability for what he did. He really just talks about it like so nonchalantly and is like, yeah, like I collabed with him because like he needed a gay person in his video and he apologized to me. And he like had never denied or had never admitted to doing it at that point, even though he pled guilty. But like, I don't fucking care. That's gross. That's gross. And that's like what I probably would never have forgiven him for. But again, I'm not Jesse, and that's not my call to make. In Alex's response video, he also does not address the collaboration with Curtis. As I said in this video, it's absolutely disgusting, and I wish he would talk about it. And like, the more he doesn't talk about it, the more guilty I feel like it makes him look. Like, this is like, you're just showing yourself to be another Gabbie Hanna, and that you refuse to take any accountability for what you've done wrong. Sure, Jesse may have forgiven you, but I think that there are many other people who are survivors of our word out there, who are your subscribers or your followers, who deserve an answer for why you did what you did, why you collaborated with this man after he had pled guilty, and why you responded so flippantly about it in your video. But that's just my perspective. Like, the original stuff, while gross, I can understand why Jesse would forgive it. But the 2016 collab is sus to me personally. And again, just the way he acts so nonchalant about it in his video is kind of gross. So basically, the whole reason that Gabbie is showing us this information is because she's saying, look at Alx, he did the same thing as me, and why are you holding me to a higher standard than Alx? And because Jesse has said, you know, Alx has apologized both publicly and privately. I do think that his public apology is absolutely trash, and I do hope that his private apology was much better. I can understand him trying to save face publicly. While it's disgusting, nobody wants to stand out here and be like, yeah, I'm an R-word apologist, LOL. But at the same time, like, what are you trying to prove, Gabbie? Like, you don't get to decide who Jesse forgives and who Jesse doesn't forgive. Alx did some disgusting things. He has never denied doing them. He never apologized to her and then said, just kidding, that never happened, like you did. And again, you don't get to decide who she apologized. Just because the timeline in his video is fucked up does not mean that he's not sorry for what he did. Like, Jesse lived through the timeline, so she knew everything he did. So it's different than him breaking it down for a YouTube video. So when he apologized for everything, he apologized for everything. And again, it's not our place to decide who Jesse does and does not forgive. And again, because Gabbie has basically apologized and then said it never happened, basically you took back your apology, which Alx never did. And just because you apologize does not mean it didn't happen. And like, you literally said in the phone call with Jesse that you would never admit to being an R-word apologist, even though she tried to explain to you over and over and over again why what you did was R-word apology, but you refused to listen. And keep in mind that that was all before you outed yourself for hearing him out after the fact. Again, you heard out Curtis after you were friends with Jesse, and only Jesse. You were never friends with Curtis. So it's a totally different situation. And again, like, while I think it's totally fucked up what Alx did, it does not exonerate you. Listen, what Alx did, I think is gross, and I don't know how I would forgive him for that, but again, that's not my place to do. I think his video fell short. I do think he should have taken so much more accountability for what he did. I think it was a different situation because he was friends with Curtis after the fact, which, like, ew. Whereas Gabbie was only friends with Jesse and then went on to hear Curtis out years later, which is totally different. Like, Alx heard him out while they were still friends, and then he stopped being friends with him, and then he apologized to Jesse and they became friends. So like, everything he did was pre-apologizing to Jesse, except for the collab, which is fucked up. Everything Gabbie did, except for her original tweets, is post her being friends with Jesse, and like, that's the issue here. I also think that we can have a whole conversation on on women having higher expectations for other women as opposed to men. There is a reason it's called bro code and girl code. I expect men to have a harder time holding other men accountable for stuff like this, especially that long ago. And I expect more from my friends because I think as a woman, you have experienced harassment and assault and R-word before many women have, and like, you, even if you haven't, you can understand what that would do to you, and you could understand being in those positions, and you've been in positions where you felt uncomfortable and stuff like that, and it's just something that most men won't ever understand. And so we have a higher expectation for our girlfriends to have our backs. There's, like I said, there's a reason it's called girl code. You know, I would expect, like, personally, I would expect more from a woman than a man, friends of mine, in this situation. Is that fair? I don't know, but that's truthful. And again, Gabbie was only friends with Jesse, so it's different. But like also overall, what was the point of this? What is the point of dragging Alx into this other than to be like, wow, look, Alx did shitty things, so my shitty things don't count? Like, just because you're both terrible people doesn't make you less of a terrible person. Okay, yeah, Alx James is also trash. What the fuck do you want from me? You're still also trash. Like this, everyone has said that this series is just Gabbie trying to drag people down with her, and this video is just further proof of this. Like, yeah, sure, you have now shed some light on Alx James being terrible, but you didn't do anything to prove that you're not terrible. Every video you filmed in this series has been you lying and perpetuating lies and refusing to admit to your own faults. And so now you're saying like, oh, but like Alx James heard him out and Alx James was friends with him and Alx James collabed with him later, and you're like, okay, yeah, so he's trash too. What do you want from me? Like, Jessie Smiles does not owe you an apology. You don't deserve an apology just because Alx James also did some shitty shit and she decided to apologize, she decided to accept his apology. Like, that doesn't mean you deserve an apology. You have done so much more than Alx, and she has tried to make amends with you, but there has been so much stuff behind the scenes that has stopped that. She tried to make amends with you once, and then she found out that you were reaching out to her ex-boyfriend, not Curtis, to do a expose video on her. She tried to, you know, play it cool with you, and then you DM'd fans private information. Like, she tried to let it go, and then you posted in a BuzzFeed article that she owes you an apology. Like, she has tried to let it go so many times that I don't think it's fair to be like, Jessie Smiles should apologize. Like, you've done too much to deserve for her to accept your apology, because she originally did accept your apology. But there is a difference between hearing out someone's attacker after you're friends with that person, after you've witnessed the pain and the trauma that they went through, and before. Yes, both are awful, but what you did is worse. I'm sorry. Again, him collabing with him after the fact is, to me, unforgivable, but that's not my place. But you have also done so much more than that, Gabbie. And also, you have apologized and then taken back your apologies and then admitted to doing what people said you did, and then denied doing it, and then admitted it, and then denied it, and like taken back your apologies so many times that it's just like, what do you believe? What are you sorry for? What, like, are you just saying sorry because you think you have to? Like, and again, what was the point of this video? So overall, I really feel like this video is fucking pointless. I'm not gonna lie to you. I watched this video and like there was no tea in it. There was no explanations. He didn't take any accountability in it. He just kind of glossed over all of Gabbie's points and started just pointing out all of her flaws instead of discussing the ones that she had pointed out in him. Because like I said, Gabbie did make some valid points in her video, and like I know that because Gabbie is big bad number one, we all like to undercut her and never believe her, but she's not wrong that Alx was also in the wrong in regards to Curtis Lepore. Like I said, I do think it's different, but she's not wrong. And instead of, but because Gabbie's the big bad, Alx thinks he could just be like, wow, look how awful Gabbie is, and then move on with his life without taking accountability, and I don't think that's okay. He also then starts reading from like, it looked like an online document about all of these characteristics that Gabbie has, and then like showing clips of her having those characteristics, but he never really discussed what he was reading from. Like, was it a narcissist handbook? Was it definitions? Like, usually you can tell what Gabbie's referencing, so I took the words from his screen and I Googled them, and this is where things get weird. So Alx is quoting from something called the Jezebel spirit, which, yeah, is like a demonic religious thing. And like, I just don't know if, like, first of all, the fact that you didn't say up front, I know you probably said it and then cut it out of your video because you knew people would judge you, that you're quoting from some fucking Bible thing online about the Jezebel spirit, which is like one of, I Googled it, and apparently it's like one of the most vicious and evil demons out there. Sorry, I'm not religious, I'm atheist, and so this all sounds fucking ridiculous to me. Like I'm just not sure if like comparing Gabbie Hanna to demon qualities is like the flex you think it is, or is helpful in any fucking way in the situation. Again, I just feel like you thought it would be funny and cute and a good way to avoid any of the actual allegations against him to talk about it this way. So like I think like I thought more highly of him before his response video than I did after it, because I just think that like it just shows that he has no desire to take any accountability or actually discuss what happened and the life choices he made and why it was wrong to support Curtis in those times. Like, he could have used this to instead of like acting like he did nothing wrong, he could have used this to talk about men supporting other men and, you know, how it's easy to support your friends when they have allegations like this against them, but the hard thing is the right thing to do, which is to believe women and to believe Jesse and how absolutely sorry you are for what you did. And I'd also love to hear more about why you collabed with this man in 2016, but apparently we're not getting that either. Like, listen, Gabbie made some points, and the video showed that Alx did some shitty shit, just like Gabbie did, and his response kind of was proof to me that he did that shitty shit because he did not deny most of it. Yes, he denied the physical allegations against her, he denied body shaming her and stuff, but I don't think those are the things that we're here to discuss. My issue was him supporting an R word, and he did not debunk that, and like comparing Gabbie to some fucking demonic spirit is just like, why? Why? And also not sharing with your subscribers that you're comparing her to a demonic spirit because you'll know you'll get chirped for it is also pathetic. Like, if you want to be a Jesus freak, say it with your fucking chest. If you want to talk about demonic fucking demons and how Gabbie's a demon, say it with your chest instead of hiding behind just some words on the screen and hoping nobody will Google it. It's just like so bizarre to me, and like, again, doesn't help any cause. And it just helps Gabbie out so that Gabbie can be like, wow, look at this man comparing me to a demon. So she can play even more of the victim because you compared her to a demon. So that is my thoughts on Alx James versus Gabbie Hanna. I think they're both in the wrong. I think they both did shitty things. And overall, this did make me see Alx James in a negative light. I, again, don't really follow him, don't know much about him, but, you know, Jessie had forgiven him and Jessie is friends with him, so that's her prerogative. But personally, I would never want to support someone like that who refuses to take accountability, who refuses to say anything about what happened, and instead is acting like a joke because the person who brought it up is Gabbie Hanna, who no one has no credibility anymore. But the clips are out there, they're factual. I again will link the 5-minute video down below so you can see what his lies specifically are. And yeah, that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.